Today we're going to talk about how to go from a life that feels like you're just reading a script to one that feels truly intentional. A life that actually makes sense to you. It's all about making that shift from just following someone else's plan to finally writing your own story.
Have you ever felt this? I mean, really, you've ticked all the boxes, you've hit the goals, you've done everything you were supposed to do, but there's still this quiet, nagging feeling that something's not quite right. This quote from the psychologist Irvin Yalom just captures it perfectly. That sense of emptiness that can creep in even when your life looks amazing from the outside.
And this really brings us to a very direct question. The choices you're making, the path you're on, is it truly yours? Or are you maybe following a script that was written by your family or by society, or maybe even by a younger version of yourself who wanted different things? It's a pretty powerful question to just sit with for a second.
Okay, so this leads us to a really fundamental distinction we have to make. The difference between choosing and just executing. See, one is about active, conscious creation, and the other, well, that's about passively following a program that's already been set.
The science behind why we fall into this autopilot mode is pretty fascinating. It's called the default mode. Our brains are literally wired for survival, and that means adapting, fitting in, and not rocking the boat. So if you feel like you're just going with the flow, it's not some personal failing. It's actually a deeply ingrained human survival tool.
So here's where the real work begins. It isn't about blowing up your entire life. It's about learning to tell the difference between these two modes. In any given moment, ask yourself, am I making a conscious choice here, or am I just running the program? Honestly, that's the question that changes everything.
Now, to make those choices, we need a certain kind of fuel, and we can call it spiritual energy. Now, this has nothing to do with religion. It's about that feeling of having a purpose. It's the why behind your what. It's that internal compass telling you that you're moving in a direction that is uniquely and authentically yours. And you can really see the difference it makes here. When that energy is low, even the biggest achievements can feel hollow. The days just kind of blur together. But when it's present, oh man, even the hard days feel meaningful. You feel connected, like you're not just a character in someone else's story, but you are the actual author of your own.
Let's try a quick little exercise. And don't overthink it, okay? What's the common theme? That deeper reason, the red thread that connects all the things you do that truly matter to you? What's that one sentence that kind of explains why you get out of bed in the morning? Just notice what pops into your head.
So, if making our own choices and following that red thread is so important, why is it so hard? Why do we avoid it so much? Well, this next part is all about exploring that resistance, which we can call the discomfort signal. Just listen to the language we use every day. Phrases like, I have no choice, or I have to do this. They're signals. They signal a moment where we are literally surrendering our own agency, handing over our power. The truth is, in almost every single situation, there's a little bit of choice that belongs only to us.
And what if that inner tension, that discomfort, isn't actually something to be fixed or avoided? What if it's a signal? This idea of authentic discomfort suggests that this feeling pops up precisely when something that deeply matters to you isn't getting the space it needs. It's basically your authentic self trying to get your attention.
But what do we do when that signal gets loud? Well, a lot of the time, we numb it. We fill the space with endless work, doom scrolling on our phones, or saying yes to commitments we don't really want. We'll do pretty much anything to avoid the discomfort of hearing what our own life is trying to tell us.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the problem. Let's switch gears and talk about the solution. This section is all about the practical tools you can start using to build a life that actually feels like your own.
First things first, and this is a crucial mindset shift. Meaning isn't some hidden treasure you go out and find. It's not going to be delivered to you by the perfect job or the perfect person. Meaning is something you actively construct, brick by brick, choice by choice, every single day.
Second, you do not need to climb a mountain to feel a sense of connection. The profound, the sacred, those moments of wonder, they're usually hidden in plain sight, in the everyday, ordinary moments of your life. We just have to learn how to see them.
And third, we've got to learn to hold our own identity a bit more loosely. Your self isn't this fixed, rigid statue that you have to defend at all costs. Think of it more like a river that's always flowing and changing. That kind of flexibility is absolutely key to growth.
So let's go a little deeper on that idea of wonder. The psychologist Abraham Maslow noticed that even after all our basic needs are met, we can still feel empty if we don't feel connected to something larger than ourselves. He called these peak experiences, which we now call moments of awe, And the best part is, they're available everywhere, not just in some epic, once-in-a-lifetime event.
Okay, let's make this personal again. Think back over the last year or so. When did time just seem to disappear? When did you feel completely present, or maybe connected to something huge? It could have been listening to music, a really deep conversation, or just a walk outside. See if you can pinpoint one of those moments.
And this is how holding our identity lightly really plays out in real life. On the one hand, when your identity is rigid, any criticism feels like a personal attack. But when you hold it lightly, criticism is just information. Failure isn't a final verdict on who you are, it's a lesson on your path. And changing your mind isn't a weakness, it's a sign of growth.
Okay, so let's bring all of this together into a simple, practical framework. Here are 4 pillars you can practice every single day to start building that intentional life we've been talking about.
Here they are. Number 1 is being. That means acting from your core values, not just what's expected of you. 2 is discipline. Just the daily habit of making small, intentional choices that matter. 3 is we. Investing in relationships where you feel truly seen for who you are, not the role you play. And 4 is positive chemistry, using your body as an ally through things like sleep, movement, and getting out in nature.
And I think this is so important to remember. The goal here isn't to solve the meaning of life once and for all. It's about learning to live with the big questions, to let them breathe, and to allow them to guide your small, everyday choices instead of burying them under a mountain of to-do lists.
So let's end right here. Forget about next year or even next month. Just look at the next 24 hours. What is one small choice you can make today that is genuinely 100% yours? Start there.